Welcome. It's an opportunity now to take a look at some of the events to watch out for us traders for the week starting Monday, the 21st of November. Let's kick in first of all with what's happening on the economic agenda. And we begin on Monday with the loan prime rate in China. Now, there's lots of anecdotal evidence suggesting that the Chinese economy is slowing down. Will they bring down the loan prime rate? It's something that the Chinese authorities have been reluctant to do so far in any meaningful amount. But it will be interesting to see just where we are in terms of that loan prime rate on Monday morning. Then it's German producer prices coming through for the month of October at 7 o'clock in the morning UK time. Tuesday at 7, we get public sector net borrowing here in the UK, following on from the fiscal statement that we saw in this last week. I'm not suggesting we're going to see anything that's reflecting that latest statement, but it'll certainly be something to watch out for as we move into the back end, as indeed go into the next quarter at the beginning of next year. Eurozone consumer confidence, a flash number out a little bit later in the morning, and later on still in the day, we get the crude oil inventory weekly data out from the American Petroleum Institute. And the midweek trading session, it's one of the big events of the week that I'm following. I put out a risk event around this, the New Zealand RBNZ interest rate decision, where some economists suggesting we could well see 75 basis points added to the 2% interest rate that the central bank already has in New Zealand. The risks, some suggesting potentially could be on the downside. Eurozone, UK, US, S&P Global Manufacturing and Services PMI flash data out later on in the day. And then at 1:30, one of those volatile economic data releases in the States, the durable goods orders coming through with new home sales and the EIA crude oil inventories. Then later on in the evening, 7 p.m. UK time to be precise, we get the releases, the minutes of the last FOMC meeting, which it raised interest rates by a margin of 75 basis points. First thing on Thursday morning, we get the Japanese Shinbun Bank Manufacturing and Services PMI flash data, and then the German Ifo business climate data out later on in the morning. Could be of interest to euro-dollar traders and the DAX. UK CBI industrial trends orders later on in the morning, and then the weekly jobless claims. And rounding off the week on Friday 25th, first thing we get GfK consumer confidence out here in the UK, and then the CBI distributive trades survey, both expected to show weakness throughout both the consumer and amongst the retail sector. German GfK consumer confidence out later on, and third quarter GDP as well in Germany, and the weekly US Baker Hughes oil rig count. Axel Rudolph, IG's chief technical analyst, joins us now with his pick of what to look out for next week. We are in a funny sort of situation at the moment, in as much as we're not seeing an enormous amount of data coming through at the moment. Anything there, though, that piques your interest?
Well, perhaps Thursday's German Ifo business climate for November, especially because if you look at the daily chart of the DAX 40, we might by then have reached very important resistance. And if you look here at the daily chart, you can see that we are trying to overcome this week's high at 14,442, which was take us back up again towards the highs seen back in April at 14,599, and also the highs in June at 14,712. So perhaps next week we'll be trading in that resistance area, and the Ifo business climate survey could perhaps then put us through that resistance and push us all the way up to the highs seen back in March at 14,927. So that's a possibility. Or if not, perhaps that resistance area between 14,599 and 712 might cap the DAX short term. After all, it has risen a lot in a very short space of time.
Okay, Axel, thanks. Back with Axel in just a minute with a look at his choice amongst the corporate releases next week. As we see a rundown of the third quarter earnings in the States, it becomes an interesting period where we are fairly light on data. But let's take a look at what we've got coming up next week in terms of some of the numbers to watch out for. Here in the UK, we have Big Yellow Group out on first half earnings. This is a REIT, a real estate investment trust. It owns properties, and it structures that in such a way give investors a big opportunity for dividends. Will we see dividends, and just how good is business in the storage area, storage sector of the UK economy? Later on in the day, Dell Technologies reports on its third quarter earnings, and Zoom Video Communications, both those out after the bell on Monday. Tuesday 22nd, here in the UK, we get the online white goods retailer AO World out with first half earnings. Been a lot of problems with AO World on some of the overseas business, especially in Germany, which is now exited. Be interesting to see just how much focus now it's actually now beginning to bring about here in the UK. Best Buy, third quarter earnings in the States, joined by Dollar Tree and Abercrombie and Fitch, all on third quarter figures. Look at what's happening on Wednesday here in the UK. The utility sector is in focus with United Utilities on first half earnings, the soft drink company Britvic on full year numbers, and Halfords also on its first half figures. And finally, on Thursday 24th, there's not much to look at on Friday, so this is the last day of the week where we have any meaningful numbers out on the corporate calendar. Dr. Martens, the shoe business on first half figures, and Kingfisher, which owns B&Q here in the UK and a number of other DIY chains across Europe, is on a trading statement for the third quarter. Axel, what's there that is of interest for us traders?
I think on Monday, Zoom Video Communications with their third quarter earnings could be of interest. And if you look at the daily chart of Zoom, what we can see here is that we have bounced off our low that we made earlier this month, which was very close to the low seen at $70.44 in October. And we've rallied last week, or actually 2 weeks ago now, by 20% on that weaker than expected US inflation print, and are now basically testing a downtrend line going back to August of this year. And if we were to manage to break above the current November highs at $89.67, we could see an advance all the way up to the 200-day simple moving average, which currently can be seen just above the $100 mark. So that would be another 20% rise from current levels, where Zoom is trading. I mean, Zoom is still down 50% year to date. So it should be interesting to see what the third quarter earnings will tell us next week.
Indeed, and that comes after the bell. Thanks, Axel. After the bell at the beginning part of the week. And of course, it trades all sessions on the IG platform. You can trade that when it produces those numbers. That's it for our look ahead to the week starting Monday, the 21st of November. Have a good weekend. I'll join you first thing Monday morning, 7:30 for the early morning call.